All right, please introduce yourself, state your name and DOC number for the record.
Good morning. I'm offender Rodolfo Martinez, Department of Corrections, 116049.
Okay. My name is Brennan Kelsey. Along with me is Ms. Bonnie Jackson. Ms. Cheryl Renata will be your panel. Explain the process to you. We'll read some information into the record, have a parole hearing, ask you some questions. You can respond at the end. You can make a statement. We'll take a vote. You understand the process?
Yes, sir.
And we have we have Patrick Mead, who will speak at the appropriate time, Michael Coates, Ramona Matthews, Tammy Matthews. We also have Alice Hardison, Billy Harrington, Julia Monet, McKinley Monet Sr., and they'll speak at the appropriate time. And we'll go. Rodolfo Martinez, DOC number 116049. First class offender. Parole eligibility to date 3/2/2023. Good time 2/3/2036. Full term 8/3/2085. Second degree murder. And you had a commutation of sentence signed on the second day of March 2023 by Governor Edwards. Does that sound correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, would you answer Ms. Jackson, please?
Good afternoon, Mr. Martinez. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm great.
Okay, well, good. I've been assigned your case, so I'll be starting the questioning for the board. How old are you, Mr. Martinez?
I'm 61 years old, ma'am.
And how much time have you actually served in this case?
Close to 37 years.
I noted that. So how old were you when you came to prison?
24 years old, ma'am.
And at that time in your life, what were you doing?
At that time of my life, I was working as a potwood stacker in close to Alexandria, Louisiana.
Okay. And I show that you were a first offender, so you had never been in any trouble before. Is that correct?
That's correct, ma'am. I'm a first offender.
And so on August 3rd of 86, there was an incident at a bar in Gary, Louisiana. So tell us just briefly what happened.
Oh, ma'am, that day is a very horrible day in my life because due through the fact that I was very highly intoxicated, I committed a horrible crime against Mr.
Tell me what
McKinley.
happened? How did it all start? What was it all about?
I really don't have a clear memory of how this started. It happened because I believe I had a blackout at that time. I know that I ended up taking his life, and that's very horrible crime that I committed.
I am noting in the information that all of the witnesses on the scene indicated that you were extremely intoxicated.
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Did you have a drinking problem back then?
Yes, ma'am. I had alcohol problem.
Okay.
Basically, alcoholic.
Okay. And how have you addressed that problem since you've been in prison?
When I came into Angola around 1993, I joined the AA substance abuse program, and through working the steps of the Alcoholics Anonymous, have been sober ever since.
Okay. And I noticed that both you and Mr. Monette ended up being shot. Is that correct?
Ma'am, that's one thing that I didn't even know that I had got shot until the next day that the nurse came over there to the cell over there in prison and dressed my wound. How did it happen? I don't know, ma'am, that I got shot.
Well, do you even remember being taken to the hospital?
I remember one time, I kind of regained senses and I was in the police car. And the next thing I know, I was over there at the hospital.
All right. So what's your job in the prison? What do you-
Right now, currently, I am NOVSTS tutor working in the seminary. We call the Bible College.
Okay. And what other jobs have you had over the course of your incarceration that you've had for long periods of time?
Oh, I work at as a leadership tutor for a program called Step Towards Educational. It was a program that started by Miss Dorothy White. I work as a tutor teaching basic English to the non-English speaking Hispanics for 5 years.
Okay. I see you've taken a lot of programs over the course of your 37 years. Which ones have been the most important to you?
The most important programs to me had been anger management. It helped me learn how to deal with my emotions and my anger, and also victim awareness, which helped me to understand the harm and the hurt that I caused Mr. McKinley's family through my thoughtless and reckless actions.
Now, your parole was, your commutation was granted in March of this year. Have you taken any programs since March of this year?
Yes, ma'am. I took trauma healing, which was taught by Dr. McGraw and Dr. Ricky Charkey, who is the director of seminary. And I'm also currently enrolled for Thinking for a Change. I think 6 classes away from completing that.
Okay, all right. And your last disciplinary write-up was in 1993, is that correct?
That was my last write-up, ma'am. Yeah, 1993.
That's 30 years ago, is that correct?
That's correct, ma'am.
And you've only had 8 over the entire time that you've been incarcerated, is that correct?
That's correct, man. 8 write-ups.
Tell us some of the community service you've done at the prison.
I had been serving the community in different areas. First of all, when I learned English, I began to teach English to a Hispanic community, and I facilitated classes of HIV and awareness through a program that was taught by the health department in Louisiana. I taught HIV awareness classes. I have taught Bible classes, to a population, and had been a minister for many years. Since 2005, I used to make ministry rounds in different camps, especially Camp J, when every Monday morning. And I was involved also in the funeral project, Point Lookout, where we bury inmates, and it's a group of inmates that are approved to go and do funerals for them. Those that don't have any family members or their families can't afford to have a funeral for their deceased members, we do that ourselves. And I currently visit patients at the hospital wards, to those that are at the hospital wards. And there are other things. I also served the Hispanic community by teaching, personal awareness classes, personal development classes through the clubs, the Latin American and the HAC, Hispanic Advanced Club.
Did you learn English while incarcerated?
Man, when I came to Angola back in 1997, I had a very little education, 6th grade elementary, and I didn't know English. I learned here through the programs that the Department of Correction offers. The academic program that the LSP has gave me the opportunity to learn English, and I did, thank God. And from that point on, I had been, using that to educate myself.
Well, tell us, if you were to be successful today, what's your plan? What's your transition plan going forward? Where would you live? Where would you work? So tell us about
Ma'am, my employment will be back in my country in Mexico, where I'm from. I'm licensed as a fisherman and a commercial fisherman. That's going to be my employment to earn my living. And in the seminary, I have been trained as a bivocational worker, which means that I have another job to give back to the community. My parole package has a section over there in section 9 that has an evangelistic plan that are formulated for the purpose of giving back to the community by teaching and preaching the word of God. That's my plan as being.
Well, let me ask you this, do you have any approved, permission to, go to Mexico?
Ma'am, I have a deportation order from the immigration that they will deport me as soon as I'm handed over to them.
Okay, so you do have an immigration hold on you, a deportation.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
on
ma'am.
you.
I do.
Warren, what can you tell us about Mr. Martinez?
I can tell you that Mr. Martinez, he's a New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary graduate with a BA and an MA. He's a clerk. He works as a clergy, a minimum class trustee. He also had a job with the Anglelite. That's one of the jobs he didn't mention that he also did. He wrote for the Anglelite. He works with Point Lookout. He did AA 12 steps, and he's a HIV peer educator.
All right, thank you. Ms. Kelsey, that's all I have.
All right. We'll hear from Mr. Patrick Mead. If you'd like to make a brief statement.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm grateful for the opportunity. I've been a pastor and a neuroscientist for over 40 years, and I've never spoken on behalf of an incarcerated individual to get parole before. But this is a very special circumstance. And it would take a very remarkable individual to make me break that silence. And Mr. Martinez is that individual. I've known him for some time. I've spoken to his friends. I've talked to his fellow prisoners. I've read and verified the packet each of you have documenting his incredible progress and the hard work he continues to do. We've had many emails and letters, videograms and the like. And I can just say that he's not the same fellow that was incarcerated. I had a lot more to say about that. From what I've heard this morning from the parole board, you're quite aware that characterological transformation can and does take place. Rudy has made it very plain to me that the man he was when he was incarcerated needed to be removed from society. He committed a great evil. He caused harm to the Monet family, that those scars will always be there. But I have never met that Mr. Martinez. No one in the last 30 years has met that Mr. Martinez. You take a look around now and you see what he's done. You know, on one divide, you see a criminal, and on the other divide, you see a reflection of Christ. Doesn't even have a write-up since 1996. As the Apostle Paul would have put it, the old man is gone, the new man has come. He was buried in baptism and he's walking in newness of life. Now, I grant you, because I'm one of them, I am very, very suspicious of jailhouse conversions. Not this one, because you can play a repentant Christian for a while, but not 24/7 for over a quarter of a century. This is a new man, and this is a man that has the opportunity to do great things. He's ready to be a pastor. His home village is ready and willing and happy to receive him back. The letters in your packet, they want him to help lead a church. And my church, which has members in 38 nations and most United States, have already said that we back Mr. Martinez and we are ready to help him begin a life of ministry. We have members in Mexico, and I have personally pledged to Mr. Martinez that I will go and visit him there and help him get settled, help him with any needs that he might have. Had more to say, but I've already heard the board, and I think you've I think you've already understand what I was going to ask you to understand, but just be aware, I consider this man my brother without in any way diminishing the harm that was done before his conversion and his change. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Thank you so much. Mr. Michael Coates,
Yes, sir.
brief statement.
Rudy and I have been friends now for over 33 years. I met Rudy in 1985. I was incarcerated here at Angola. I recently got out and we've kept in contact, but over those years, we were very, very close friends. And what I consider as a close friend is a quality that Rudy had that a lot of men here in Angola didn't have. Rudy was a person that when I would do something wrong, he would get in my face and say, hey, you were wrong. This is not right. A lot of people would tell you what you want to hear, but he would never do that with me. And I always respected him for that. We both went through the seminary. We both tutored together at the seminary. We've cried together. We've laughed together. We've done things together over the years. But the one thing that has always impressed me is the integrity of Rudy Martinez. And the thing is that he has never changed over the years that I've known him. He's always upheld his integrity, and everyone that knows him will say the same thing. We even work together on Point Lookout. We're doing funerals. We've done a lot of things together, but the most important thing is he's my friend, he's my brother, and I will say this, although I know he wants to go back home to Mexico, if he was going to stay here in the States, he would be welcome in my home, and I would treat him just as if he was my own brother, blood brother. That's how much I really care about Rudy Martinez, and I have the utmost respect for him, and I pray that this board will allow him to go back home to his family.
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, Tammy Matthews.
Yes. Tammy Matthews, this is my wife, Ramona. We're from West Monroe, Louisiana. I have known Rudy since January of this year, not only about 8 months, I guess, but during that time, he's just been an amazing person to me. I've never met anybody quite like him. He's a bright spot in our lives, I can tell you that. One of the contributions, I think, and actually everybody before me has stolen my thunder, so my whole speech has kind of already been said, so I'll keep it short. But his smile is something that I think he contributes to the community. Just such a beam of light. So out of full respect to family and victims, and I know the hurt and the feelings that linger on, I'm just hoping that anyone who might oppose him today would acquiesce to the degree of at least permitting him to be paroled and sent back to his home country outside of the United States.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. All right, we're here from Mr. Billy Harrington. Mr. Billy there? No.
No, he was,
Julia Monet.
Miss Julia is there. I'm gonna get Mr. Harrington on the line. All I had to do was call him when it was time.
Okay, we'll let Miss Julia speak first, and then then McKinley, and then we'll let Mr. Harrington finish up. Miss Julia.
Yes, my name is Julia Monette. I'm the victim, McKinley Peter Monette sister. And I listened to all of what you all are saying. And the way I feel about it is, you know, he was sentenced to life in prison without the benefit of parole. And that's one thing our family had, you know, that he would never leave prison a free man. And you know, Rudy murdered an innocent person, Peter Monette, my brother, and he will never come back. And so why should Rudy be able to get out to be with his family and friends? Peter had only been at that club for a couple of hours when he shot him. My brother was standing in front of the club with his friends, with his foot propped on the wall. And he had only been there, as I said, for 2 hours. They were just talking, shooting the breeze, we were told. And he was sharing a beer. Back then, they would share a beer. People, they were sharing a quart of beer. And from what we were told, Rudy walked outside and just asked my brother, "Hey, man, you want to fight?" He didn't know my brother. And he reaches in his boot, pulls out a gun and shoots him. The first shot missed him, and he shot again and shot the main artery to my brother's heart. And, before going to the club that night, my brother told my parents he just went to go shoot a little pool, and he had just finished working on our church. Our church had burnt down, and he was working for Morrow Constructions in Pineville, Louisiana, and they had just finished the work on our church that day before he went to the club. And, the thing that hurts me and my family on top of all of this, is that Rudy stole my brother's life. He never had the chance to have a family of his own. I mean, as in children, a wife. He was young. My brother was only 21 years old when he shot him. And also, I only lived a few houses from that club. I didn't know my brother was lying on the ground, bleeding to death while I was home asleep. But nobody would let him, the cops wouldn't let anybody leave to come get me so I could be there with my brother. And Rudy was a coward. He tried to run away, had my brother's friends not stopped him and picked up the gun that hit the car tire of one of his friends that was going to leave when the shooting started. He held the gun on Rudy until the cops got there, or else he would have been gone. He tried to run. I don't care how changed he is now. That doesn't bring my brother back. And as I said, he was only 21 years old. He had his whole life in front of him when it was stolen. Peter was loving, sweet, kind, smart. He was a hardworking person. He would give the shirt off his back to anybody if they needed it. And my brother was my best friend, my protector. He always protected and looked out for me, because he was the oldest of 5 children, and I was next to oldest, or is now oldest. I just think, I see Rudy here sitting in front of the parole board telling you all how he's a changed man. He's changed since going to prison. I don't care if he's changed. The last thing I would like to say to you, to Rudy and the parole board.
Say it to us, yes, ma'am.
Well,
Speak.
to you, what is the purpose of the sentence of life without the benefit of parole? If he can just turn around and ask to get out, I don't care what steps he's done. That was the one thing, as I said, that we had to hold on to, is that he would never leave prison a free man. And I don't think he deserves to be out to be with his family and friends. My brother would never come back. We will never have him with us for family functions and whatever, we'll never see him again. So he gave us a life sentence. So why shouldn't he stay in prison and finish out his life sentence without the benefit of parole as he was sentenced? That's all I have to say.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much for your comments. Mr. McKinley?
My daughter said my everything. I would probably say myself, but I mean, when I lost my son, I lost part of my life. My life was destroyed as well as his was lost. Because I had to have like counseling to get over this, because I just be broke down every day with it so bad, and it just started my life. That's my oldest son, what I had, and it just done away with me. And all my other kids and everybody was broke down so bad for it. So I'm just like my daughter. I don't see why he should be free. He said for life, and he should be in that for life. Why he come out free to his people, and we can never have our son back.
Yes, sir. I'm so sorry. Yes, sir. Thank you.
I do have Mr. Harrington online.
Okay, Mr. Harrington.
Good afternoon. I apologize for not being on the computer. I'm traveling, but we support the Monets and the family, and it's just tragic that they're having to go back through this and relive it. The defendant he was granted clemency, and I would imagine there's some benefits that come with that for him, and we certainly oppose his parole and support the family. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right, Mr. Rudy, would you like to make a statement on your behalf?
Sir, I do like this parole board to know that I deeply regret causing this great harm to the Mr. McKinley family. In 37 years that I have been over here, I learned that a human life is irreplaceable. And no matter how many years I spent in prison, I cannot replace the life that I took, sir. So the best thing that I have done and that I have been able to do is I have been praying for Mr. McKinley family, his friend, and the rest of the community, that God one day will touch their hearts and remove the pain and the hurt and the unforgiveness that they hold in their hearts against me, so they can be set free. Yes, they do have the right to be angry, mad, and hate me and oppose me because I did something very bad against them. I took the life of the member of this family, but I can't change that. What I have done is what you have in your possession, and what I have purpose to do is continue to pray for Mr. McKinley's family's healing. They deserve to be set free from those things that they hold against me. And I pray that this board will find me worthy of parole so I can be handed over to immigration and be deported back to my country. I promise that I will not come back to the United States. That's
All right. Thank you. Thank you, sir. All right, panel prepared to vote. Ms. Jackson.
First, the Monette family, I appreciate your being here. I appreciate your input, and your distress is obvious. The only thing that I will say to you is what I've said to a lot of people in your position. Our job is to look at who this person is sitting before us now. I know that doesn't take away your pain, but I will tell you that forgiveness is more important to you than it is for Mr. Martinez. And as a person of faith, and I've heard you all talk about your church, as Christians, we are called to forgive because Jesus has forgiven us. And Jesus' word clearly tells us that if we cannot forgive others, he will not forgive us. And so forgiveness does, in fact, set you free. I hope you can find the ability to forgive. And if you ask God for the ability to forgive, he will enable you to do what seems impossible for you. But Mr. Martinez has done everything that could be expected of him. He has an outstanding institutional record. He's not had a write-up in 30 years. Even before this crime occurred, he was a law-abiding person. And unfortunately, alcohol played a big role in what happened. Not an excuse, but it's certainly an explanation. He has given a high degree of service to the prison. He has served 37 years. And I believe that he has demonstrated that he is ready for release. So my vote today would be to grant his parole and release him to the federal detainment.
Ms. Renatza.
I do concur with everything Judge Jackson has said. My vote today also is to grant to the detainer.
And also I'm going to vote to grant you parole for the work you've done to the detainer. 3 votes to grant, your parole's been granted. Good luck to you. And we'll adjourn at 12:28. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Warden.
Welcome. Have a good day.